Hello and welcome to the Seahawkers podcast. I'm your host, Brandan Schultz. And boy, oh boy, do we have a fun show for you today as we get into Ceilings versus Floor Part 3. It's part of a lineup that it's probably going to be a huge week as we've recorded our flagship show, episode 410. We've got our What If preview show with the game coming up on Saturday against the Dallas Cowboys. And yes, if you're watching out on YouTube, you want to hit that like button, subscribe to the show. That way you never miss an episode when it's coming at you. And like I said, this is Ceilings versus Floor Part 3. We're at Part 3, boys. And if you haven't checked out those first two parts, Part 1, Part 2, they're out on YouTube. They are evergreen type shows, at least until the season gets concluded. And you can go back and you can check our work and follow along and actually see how we do.
Yeah, I think it is a fun little tag along. You could go check out. What did we say about Kenneth Walker's yards, right? What did we say about Geno Smith's ceiling on touchdowns? It's in the book. It's back there, right? So go check it out. And since we're talking floor versus ceiling, guys, I got to ask you, is there a particular ceiling that you're getting a little tired of hearing about over and over and over again this preseason?
Yeah, like the media's overblown look at the 49ers win total.
Yes, and absolutely. And forever and all those things. That's correct, because the Niners might just be posers. But I'm actually thinking about a different type of ceiling, and that's the cost of our stinking cell phone bills, boys. It never ceases to amaze me that it just keeps creeping up and up and up. And I recently had a family member who switched to Mint Mobile, who was the partner for today's video. They got their brand new phone sent to them directly in the mail, so they didn't have to like waste a Saturday at a store. Got the phone. Dead simple instructions. Support was easy. Within 15 minutes, they were set up on Mint Mobile. Check the signal. It's banging. And you've probably seen the commercials with Mint Mobile, which stars Ryan Reynolds. Everybody loves Ryan Reynolds, so why not already? And you might wonder, okay, is the service actually good? Is it a pain in the butt to switch? Switching, like I talked about, is dead simple. Choosing your plan, dead simple. And before you know it, instead of paying what you're currently paying, instead, you're paying about $15 a month, and you could do it as an individual or you could do it as a family plan. And if you're interested in checking it out, go to mintmobile.com/Seahawkers. That link will be also in the show notes right above in the first line there. Check it out for yourself. See what you could save. That's a floor I could actually get behind. And Brandan, you mentioned we had two parts earlier, part 1, part 2. This is part 3. Adam, we like trilogies. Things in 3 make sense. How are you feeling today about coming back in for part 3 of our floor versus ceilings Seahawks debate?
Am I fired up? Hell yes, Clinton. I'm fired up. Let's do this.
I love it. All right, perfect. So we're going to go through 6 topics. Topic number 1, calling this one, Can You Diggs It? And though I teased it over to Adam, actually, he was the ceiling last time. It's back to Brandan. Brandan, we're talking about Quandre Diggs interception total in 2023. Want to give you a little bit of stats to lead you in here and also lead the listeners along, including the year that he came over from the Motor City to the PNW, which is 4 seasons ago now. Quandre is averaging Quandre. That's how I have it. Ron Burgundy, folks, is in the notes. Quandre is averaging 4 INTs per year, which is pretty darn good. What is Quandre's ceiling in 2023, and why are you going with that number?
I would have to go over his average just because, and okay, so going back, when he was in Detroit, he was topping out at 3 per year. I think he got 3 his first year in Seattle, but then he hit 5.
Yep.
The last couple of years after that, down to 4 last year. So yeah, he's in that average of about 4 per season. But I have to think that just if things go how I want them to go with the Seahawks defense, they're able to shut down the run. You know, the offense is clicking. We're able to get ahead. And that requires opposing teams to try and throw it deep to play catch up with the Seahawks team. And that means Quandre gets a lot more opportunities, and he gets 6 interceptions this season.
6 as a ceiling. Certainly pitching 2 more higher, so it's a pretty darn significant percentage-wise jump. And yeah, I can see that. I really can see that this year, because I do think we're going to put the heat on them, and I think we got other coverage ability that we didn't have in the years past. So,
and look at the quarterbacks in the NFC. Who do we have to worry about? That's just going to tear us up and No, it's probably going to be Sam Darnold throwing at least half of the interceptions.
Well, we do know if it's Trey Lance, it'll be deflected off of at least 3 defenders before it ends up in the arms of a 49er, which our team will actually catch that ball, unlike the Raiders. All right, so 6, I would call it it's the first category, so I'm not going to rail on you too hard. But as ceilings go, maybe it's a fairly tepid ceiling. However, Adam, you get the chance to argue for the floor. Doesn't mean you have to say it's 0. You can do whatever you want with it. So what is your floor for Quandre Diggs INTs for the year, and why are you going with that?
Well, firstly, how dare you call 6 tepid? I think that's a decent ceiling there. So, Brandon,
what do you
let
think?
him do that
Decent?
to you.
Wait a second. You said decent. Like decent.
No,
tepid?
like a decent guess, like a good guess. Like I think 6 would be a lot at free safety for a year. That's a lot of picks. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So I think that's
we're talking ceiling, boys. Ceiling.
Yeah,
you know what? Like
ceiling.
11 or 32. Something insane.
Well, he's not going to reinvent the position and get 42 picks in the season. Like, come on now. So my floor is 3, only because I don't think that he's going to get a lot of opportunities with the extra coverage abilities of the corners this year, and a lot more tip balls, things like that. Now I put it at 3 because I think he's going to have an opportunity at 5 or 6 for sure. And we have seen Quandre, he drops a couple every year. He does.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something that he does. But overall, he's an impact player and a Pro Bowl player and one of the best safeties in the league. So I put it at 3. Plus, you're going to get a few more opportunities if you're Quandre, just based off the fact that with Draymond pushing the pocket from the middle into the arms of Derek Hall, Mafe, Nwosu, Taylor, and the likes, they're going to be under pressure, the opposing quarterback, and be more apt to throw the ball to, well, I don't know, maybe us. That would be nice. So 3 for Quandre. That's the floor. He's a professional. Like, that would just be the world working against him to end up at 3.
Okay, so I like 3 as a floor. I'm
glad that was acceptable.
Yeah, that was your pass. That's a pass. I think we could all agree, if Trey Lance is to play both games for the Niners somehow, some way, then 42 becomes the acceptable ceiling for Diggs.
That's the ceiling. Yeah, okay. I wasn't counting on Trey Lance being the quarterback in those games, but now that you framed it that way, that is a more acceptable ceiling.
Right, and nobody else is either, because he stinks. All right, we're on to topic number 2. I'm going to have to ask Adam to maybe break out the abacus here and do a little mental math, which, I know it's live. We're recording it live. We're not going to edit this. And that can be tough sometimes on all of us. However, there's a lot of buzz around the rookies. So I'm calling this category Rookie Sack Masters. So think about all the rookies that are out there on the line, elsewhere, coming off the edge potentially. Put it all in a bundle. Like a big barrel of blueberries. How many sacks as a ceiling do you think we're going to accumulate between our rookies in 2023? So you got Morris, you got Witherspoon, you got Hall, you got others that could contribute, UDFAs. How many sacks for our rookie class this year?
Okay, so let me get here. So basically, the guys you lined out there, I think there's a high probability they're going to at least have one. You left out Cam Young, but I don't know that matters. That's not his game. That's not why he's there, is to be a sack artist. So I'm going to go 0 with Cam Young. I would say, and this is the ceiling, yeah?
Yeah, ceiling,
I would say,
3 Cam Young could luck his way into 1 as a ceiling.
Maybe like one of the edge players pushes the quarterback up into him and he trips and falls on top of him.
He gets the credit for it. Yeah.
He gets the credit for it. Okay, maybe. All right, fine. Brandon's talked me into 1 for Cam Young. Okay, so we got 1 for Cam Young. I'd say ceiling would be like 3 for Spoon coming off the edge. That would be quite a bit from the corner position.
That'd be awesome.
4. Okay. And then I would say, for Mike Moe, I would say that the ceiling's probably around 3. I mean, playing from the interior, that would be a lot from a rookie up front. Now, he looked great in the preseason and gave some pressure and things like that from the middle position there. I think he was playing like 3-tech. And then that leaves us Derek Hall. And I think his ceiling is probably about 6. So I would say 10 total sacks from the rookie class would be the ceiling. That would be quite a bit. And I know some people be like, well, 6 from Hall. I mean, he's an edge player. That's why he's out there. That might be a little low. Like
a rookie. That's
for
a lot.
rook. Like that would be an amazing season. I'd be jazzed about that. So 10. And that's all the fingers I had to count on. So that's why I topped out there.
He was out of options. 10, he gives it a 10. And yeah, if Hall gets 6, I don't think he's going to play more than 50% of the time. I just don't. Be interesting if he does. I'm not saying good or bad. Something would have had to happen if he's playing more than that. So he's going to have to take advantage of that to that many snaps or that few snaps to even get 6. So I think that's a cool ceiling. And we can start to also then compile, because you can say, okay, well, Noah is probably around here, and Maffei's probably getting this. And if Adams comes back, he's probably getting this many. And you can start to see our way to maybe that 45, 50 plus for the team, which would be super cool. All right. So Brandan, for you get the floor on this one, maybe a bit easier to mathematically get there. How many sacks for our rookie class and why?
Yeah, well, I take a little bit of issue with the ceiling of 6 for Hall. I think that's a conservative number, but I mean, we've seen Bruce Irvin in the past. What did he have his rookie year? He was around 8.
I was say 8.5. I think he got his rookie year.
And then Darrell Taylor, though technically not a rookie last year, but his first season, getting 9.5 is a pretty good number. Was
first season 2 years ago?
Okay,
but
well,
he still had a good. Yeah, he still had a lot of sacks. Yeah,
it wasn't double digits, but I think he was up in the 8.
I think 8 or so. Yep.
Yeah. So
but to be fair, Bruce Irvin and Darrell Taylor were more of the bend the edge, speed rushers
guys. Yeah.
Whereas Derek Hall right now, where he's at with his game, and he shouldn't be anywhere other than where he's at, is the power rush, just the long arm and that sort of thing. He's a little bit of a one-trick pony. That's why I said 6. And how dare you, Brandon?
Well, Frank Clark was on the low end for his rookie season. So maybe if you're comparing, making that comparison, then I could see that. So with that said, Darrell Taylor, if he's back and healthy, it could mean fewer opportunities for Hall, especially if Maffei's playing out of his mind. Mm-hmm. He has a lot of competition at that edge spot for Hall, which would, I think Adam's correct, and that's where the bulk of the sacks would come from. And so if he's, down closer to 3 or 4 and Mike Moe's closer to 1 or 2, then yeah, you could see a floor of only about 4.
Yeah, which makes
0
sense.
for Spoon, 0 for the tackling machine off the edge.
I give him 1, I give Morris 1, and then 2 for Hall.
Yeah, but it's a floor, right? But I think that the cool part about that exercise is, to me, that's like, all right, are we pitching in the mid 40s like we did last year, low 40s, mid 40s, or are we pitching to the high 40s into the 50s, which starts to become elite pass rush? So something to watch as the season begins to roll on is, can we get some early momentum from these rookies? Because if we start to, we could circle back to this and be like, we talked about this. If we start seeing some notches on the wall from the rooks, we could almost nearly predict the rest will be there. And this team should be a 48, 50, 51, 52 sack team. And that's going to be pitching top 5, which is super, super exciting. So something to look out for. All right. Fun topic there. This one, not so fun last year. You guys talked about it quite a bit on the flagship Seahawkers podcast 409. This was third down conversion percentage. We'll be going back to Adam for the ceiling. So if we had we talked about 2 major topics all throughout the offseason. This was certainly one of them. And in my estimation, we've done everything we can, or the things we did were really guided towards improving our third down conversion as we headed into this year, draft picks and the way we've changed some things up, 11 personnel, et cetera, et cetera. We shall see how it plays out. So we're 20th last year, which equated to 38.32%. You want to be accurate. And that put us in the company, though, of teams like the Rams, the Browns, the Bucks. These were not good teams last year. Those are really crappy teams last year, right? So to give you some bearings on the opposite side,
all the time.
Hey, that one fan the Ram fan might not be happy with you, Adam. Yeah, he might just demerit us out on YouTube with that one. And then the other side is the Bills and Chiefs. Bills were just over 50%, and the Chiefs were just below 49%. So creme de la creme there, to give you the idea. So Brandan, We made some changes. What's our third down conversion ceiling this year, percentage-wise, in this critically important category? What do you got?
Okay, first you said Adam was taking the ceiling, but then you tossed it to me. So.
I confuse easy. We're doing math here on the fly. It is your category. The sheet says so.
Okay. Well, I will say that the ceiling. So the ceiling then would be a good number. If our third down conversion percentage, we can get it up to 45%. I don't know if we're going to go to Bills Chiefs level from last year, but I think a ceiling of 45, 46% conversion. So we're getting close to that 50% level. I'd consider that a good ceiling. And if they're able to run the ball effectively, Evan Brown from the first preseason game looks like he has potential. We didn't see a lot of Phil Haynes, but if that interior of the line can get help get the run game rolling, Kenneth Walker's back and practicing, then yeah, hopefully we don't have a lot of third and longs, and it makes it a little bit more easy to convert routinely. And yeah, we've got that JSN weapon to add on third down as well. So how about 46% for the ceiling for the Seahawks?
40 and 46. All right, just so folks can see that too. Where would that put us last year? Hey, Brandon, look at you. It would put us just above a couple of teams we hate a lot. The 49ers were at 45% last year. And then the Cowboys, which I know some people hate, were about 45% as well last year. So, which, by the way, that pitches into the top 5. So if you're cracking that 45% level, you're getting into the area of Bills, Bengals, Chiefs, Eagles, right? So you start hearing those teams like, yeah, those are the elite offenses in the NFL. So nice job by you. That 46 would put us right in that sweet pocket of like maybe 4th through 7th, and really there with the top team. So, hey, good job. You did something there. Nice. All right, Adam, you got the floor, but I don't know what your floor is going to be. This is a different team this year. So where are you taking it?
Last year was 38%, correct? On
38.32%, because
the floor is 38.33%. They can't get worse. They won't get worse this year, and not because teams aren't capable of regression, but this year with this team, Brandon brought up the JSN edition. I think that is going to be a massive deal when it comes to third down. The offensive line, in terms of the upgrade at center, whether it's Brown or Olu, and the tackles with another year of experience, and Damian Lewis still being good, I think that they're going to be able to stay on schedule a lot better this year than they were last year. And then let us not forget that this will be a second year of Geno in the system as the guy, being comfortable running the show. I do think that's going to help them get in and out of some of the checks at the line of scrimmage with a little more experience there, to be sure that they're getting into positive plays, staying on schedule, making it for easy third down conversions. The floor is not worse than what they did last year. There's no way. 38.33.
Yeah, so a smidgen is the floor better. I hear I know you're going straight logic there, Brandon. Any takes on basically that's like The Price is Right, where Adam goes $1, right? So he gave us the $1 over. He gave us the $1 answer. Any reaction to that? I'm
fine with it, because I know that his answer is probably closer to mine, and he just wanted to come up with a number that. And when you're talking about 38.3 versus 46, I mean, if Adam were to give a floor of, I don't know, 40, it's not a huge difference, right?
Right. It's not, however, that gets you right into the top 10 though, compared to last year, right? But that's okay. I think it's a $1 Price is Right answer.
Okay. All right. I'm starting to feel the heat in the backlash here from what you're saying here, Clinton, that the floor should have been higher. I hear what you're trying to say here, but really, there's three outcomes this season that could happen on third down. They get better, they stay the same, or they get worse.
Right.
So to me, of those 3 outcomes, like, they can't get worse. I just don't see a possibility in any way, shape, or form they get worse. That means that the only possibility I could see is them possibly staying the same. That has to be the floor. That's just facts, logic, and reason. And I'm sorry, it's not 41%.
That's just math. All right, rolling on to topic number 4. This will be Adam's ceiling. And speaking of ceilings, a little rainbow Connection, the little Kermit and Miss Piggy singing the whole thing. It's a lovely tune. Geno's Rainbow Touchdown Connection, I'm going to call this one. So we all know that Geno led the league in completion percentage last year. And sometimes when you see a dude do that, Drew Brees, many years, not that Drew was a dink and dunker. However, a lot of slants, a lot of quick passes, and he compiles that really great percentage. He could throw the ball downfield too. Drew Brees is a Hall of Famer. We're not saying that. However, Geno was really good at the deep ball last year as well. By the way, I had to look up. I was like, what does the NFL actually classify as a deep ball? Thought it'd be an interesting tidbit. It's when the ball travels at least 15 yards in the air. So not a yak thing, but 15 yards in the air is considered a deep ball. So Geno was
and that's from the line of scrimmage to the catch point. That's not
release
Brandon, point to catch point.
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not sure. I mean, if you drop back 7 yards, do 3 pirouettes, and then throw it 12 yards deep, I don't know what that at the 3 yard line, right?
I think
I'm not
it's
sure.
from the line of scrimmage.
Okay, so we'll go with that. We'll say that's probably it. And if it was, he was 24 of 51 for 719 yards, a 13-2 touchdown to interception ratio for a passer rating of 116.6 rating when he was going with the deep ball. So, of his 30 touchdowns last year, 13 of them, 43.3%, were a deep shot for 6. I want to know this year, this team, this construct, what is Geno's touchdown percentage on deep balls in 2023? And what's the math for you, Adam?
Well, so the percentage last year on the touchdown percentage was what?
Touchdown percentage. So he was So last year he was 13 of 30. So of his 30, 13 were the deep variety. So that's what we're trying to say. It was 43.3% of the time that we scored a touchdown last year.
Okay.
It was basically a deep shot. What do you think happens this year?
For the ceiling.
And you got ceiling, right? Yeah.
For the ceiling. See, this is, I was thinking of this in different terms when I read your notes. So I'm trying to come up with this on the fly. I'd say that the ceiling is like 45% in a very a minimal gain, if any, because I think if this team is going to take the next step, evolutionary wise, and be a better offense and be more efficient, they're going to have to be a lot better in the red zone and scoring on, less than deep shots down in the red zone. And once again, this is where JSN comes in. This is where I'm really high on Colby Parkinson being that big target. Let us not forget about the future Hall of Famer Jake Bobo, who seems to be a monster down in the red area with his large frame. Now, he may not even make the team, but it's trending up at this point as well. Also, I would think that they're going to get to a point to where they're able to score on the ground a little bit more efficiently as well. So I just don't see there being as many opportunities, or let's hope it doesn't look that exact same way this last year, because despite that being fun, it's not a very efficient way to play football. So the ceiling, just a couple percentage points higher.
Yeah, I think you made some great points there. This is a category where the higher it goes, it might not be a good thing. And I think you illustrated that real nice. So Brandon, you get the floor on this one. Take us out on the dance floor. What do you got?
The other component to that too is the actual number of throwing touchdowns, and 30 touchdown passes for Geno Smith last year. That's a pretty significant number. Is he actually going to be able to beat that number of passing touchdowns with all of these other components that we hope that he throws for a bunch more touchdowns, but we kind of also hope that the running game picks up a bunch more touchdowns too. And that wouldn't be necessarily a bad thing down inside the red zone. However we get points, I don't care.
All the touchdowns. Yes.
We want all the touchdowns for sure. So 30 touchdowns rushing, 40 touchdowns throwing, 70 touchdowns overall. This offense is really clicking. I have the floor on this one, so I don't know how to balance that in my mind. But, percentage wise, I'd say the floor is probably around 25%, because even if let's say he drops off a little bit in terms of his passing touchdowns, it's down around 25. I think he's still gonna, let's say 24 for an easily round number. That would leave it at 6 deep passing touchdowns. It's a pretty low floor. Maybe 25 is too low. 28. How about that?
28, 7 of the deep shot variety. I like the mathematical gymnastics to get there. And I think it's a cool range to think about. And again, week 1, week 2, but basically by week 4, we could gauge this. Like, where's this pitching? Are we still reliant on the New Orleans type deep shot, the games last year against New Orleans, or the games versus the Raiders, which become true shootouts? Or are we controlling the ball differently? Because the difference is those deep shots from the 30, 40, 28-yard line, whatever it is, right? Cool. We love the points. It puts more time back on the clock. Like that's a result of what that actually does, right? Kind of be cool if 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of those drives end up being another 2 to 3 minute clock eaters where we still get 6, but we get it from the 6-yard line. So that will be the thing to watch this year. Just it'd be really super interesting to watch. Of course, week 1, when we're up like 42-0 versus the Rams, we got 7 of these. We'll all be just going bananas on the anyway. It'll be a lot of fun. So,
well, the thing about the Rams game, we're going to be running the ball so effectively that the play action works to perfection that we just end up probably getting 5 touchdowns off of deep shots anyway, just because they're so out of balance with thinking that we're going to run the ball and then we go over the top.
Love it. Over the top, like Stallone, the sayer of suits right there. There you go.
Turn
like
my hat around right now. Yeah.
Like a truck, like a machine. Very nice. All right. And we're going to stick on a similar topic. It's going to just be like, it's like a microscope, one little click down into a next level. Similar question though. So now I want to look at Tyler Lockett and DK. They were basically deep ball target hogs last year, which we understand why, but now we have a new dynamic and a couple of new weapons on offense, and one specifically with JSN. So I mentioned Geno threw 51 deep shots last year. Of that, 42 of them went to either DK or Tyler, that's 82.4% of the deep balls were to those two dudes. Again, we get it. And then they converted on 18 of the 42, which is like 42% or something like that. So what I want to know, Brandon, is Adam. No, yes. Sorry, my bad. Let's see. Brandon, my bad. I can't keep this straight. All right. So Brandon, the ceiling for deep ball attempts to DK and Tyler, and what's their percentage this year? So how many targets do they get this year? 42 last year, deep ball. Yeah. And what's their percentage this year? Does that change?
So 42 last year.
Ceiling.
Yeah, I do have the ceiling, and I kind of want to go high here, but you want to factor in the rookie into this too. And of these 3 receivers, if we throw Jackson Smith and Jigba into the mix as well, I think that JSN and Tyler Lockett could end up with the majority of the deep ball targets just by the fact that those 2 are so good at getting wide open in space. And that's where we see a lot of those deep shots to Tyler, right? As he's running across the field, he's got a defender trailing him, he's got wide open space. Usually, I feel like with DK, he's making the catch contested in traffic because they've got so much more attention on him. They've got the top corner on him. They're trying to be a little bit more sticky with DK. It just lends itself to those other guys getting open a little bit more. So, deep shot 51 times, 42 were Tyler or DK. Mm-hmm. I'll put the ceiling. It's still, I think that number could go up, just by nature of maybe Geno getting a little bit more frisky with the number of deep shots that he takes. And so I'm going to say 45 attempts to Tyler and DK downfield.
All right. And then percentage wise, last year they converted 18 of them. What do you think if it's 45? Up, down, sideways?
DK's got to catch more of those. So obviously that's that percentage goes up to, let's say 50%, and a little bit over 50% because I picked an odd number in.
Love it. Okay.
23.
So a few more deep shots, even with JSN there, a better conversion percentage, even with because DK is going to catch more of them and drop less or get his feet in bounds or whatever it might be. Yeah. And Adam, I saw your eyes get all wide-eyed and googly when Brandon said that DK was the guy who was going to get kind of robbed of the deep shots. And I think you want to say something about that. You got the floor, so you might as well take it away.
Yeah, that was an interesting take, considering that DK is built for I don't know, deep shots. That's who he is. Like, that's one of his greatest assets is his speed and his size and ability to high point the ball, jump through the roof. Like, I
Let's
don't
see.
really see.
I think it's possible DK could get overshadowed in the number of deep shots. That's all I'm saying.
I think that's absolutely impossible. That is not what JSN is. Like, we're talking about deep shots, that the ball traveled through the air. And to me, deep shots travels through the air 20 yards or more, but apparently the stat is 15 yards or
We'll
more.
say 20 from the release point if you want to count it differently.
I'm just saying the way that I've always looked at it. But either way, JSN's big plays, his long shots, those are catching it on a quick slant and then breaking it for 30 yards going downfield, right? With yak. He's a yak monster. That's what he does. He's not a guy who goes out and you're throwing rainbows to on the regular. He is more Julian Edelman than he is Randy Moss. Like, that's the games are completely different, right? Both amazing receivers.
That's how they were using him in practice in the pregame.
That's how they used him in the game. Like, I mean, we were there. We sat next to each other, right, at the mock game, and then we watched the preseason game. Like, he was catching slants. Yeah. He's catching slants out of the slot, option routes out of the slot.
And it's also year one, right? So it's year one for that guy where he has two studs. So not that he can't become the next Lockett, but we're talking about this year and who gets robbed of these deep shots, and that's Adam. That's what you're positioning.
Right. And so you use his superior skill set as an inside receiver to then free up your deep shot masters in DK and Tyler. Like, they had 84% of the deep shots went their way. Is that what you said?
Yeah, something like that. It was
84%,
82.4%.
The floor for the deep shots going to DK and Tyler is 80. Like, maybe a guy gets one here or there, but it's not going to change. Now, the floor of total deep shots to DK and Tyler, let's say they're not going to get fewer than 2 a game. So 34 would be the floor on attempted deep shots to them. But JSN doesn't change the dynamic of where and how they get the ball in terms of
Jake Bobo change the dynamic.
Oh
no,
snap.
he's also a possession receiver. More like, not like JSN. JSN's more than a possession receiver, but yes, you got to think about their skill sets and how they work and how they play off each other. And I don't see JSN as being the guy that cuts into deep shots from DK and Tyler at all.
Yeah, I'd say the exciting part is this wide receiver room is freaking awesome. It is awesome. So it's going to be super, super thrilling to watch them. I mean, again, week 1 versus the Rams, three touchdowns between the trio, 4, 7. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have a PNW prop stars about that. I'm sure. I'm excited for it. Speaking of excitement, boys, one more topic number 6. This one's a bit of a tough pill. Yards per carry on the defense. So this was the thing we talked about. Third down conversion on the offense, and then our YPC, or our ineffectiveness of stopping the run. We were 26th in the league. We gave up 4.9 yards per attempt last year. It's disgusting. The Titans and Niners led the way at 3.4. The 4.9 to 3.4 that's a chasm. That's a huge, huge difference in the NFL per play. So we're talking, mid to high 3s is basically elite. Low 4s would be pretty good. Mid to high 4s gets to be pretty bad. Then 5s is just really disgusting. So Seattle was right on the verge of disgusting, not quite disgusting, but it felt that way. And it sure played out that way in many of the games where it was well above 4.9, because that's just an average. A lot of changes to personnel and seemingly some changes to the scheme. Maybe going back to some simpler times. Adam, you've got the final opportunity to dance on the ceiling. So Lionel Richie, take it away. What do you got for YPC? And when we say ceiling, that's to like our betterment. How much closer can we? It's like golf. How much further can we drive the number down yards per carry with this iteration of our Seahawks?
Yeah, I wish I had a good Lionel Richie impersonation, but I don't. Yeah, I would say that if I'm thinking about this, the best that the ceiling for yards per carry for the defense would be right around 4.1, and not quite elite, like getting into the pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And the only reason I say that is because I don't think out of the gate it's going to look great in those first 3 to 4 weeks. A lot of new personnel, change in scheme. You got to sit and gel all that together. I think that's going to take a minute. And once they get that going, like if I were to paint the perfect picture for this season, struggle a little bit against the run first 3-4 games. And then by week 5 or so, you've got it locked in. Everybody knows their assignments. They know their gaps, and they're playing fast and loose. And all of a sudden that defense looks really good. So even though the yards per carry look bad early on, they look pretty darn good going forward for the majority of the season. Gets you down to slightly above average. That's where I think the ceiling is.
4-1 would be a huge improvement. That'd be awesome to see. Massive. I'll circle back to the beginning of the year because got a point there. However, I want to hear Brandon's floor, which is now this is the negative one. So how high can this limbo bar go, Brandon, and why are you taking that number?
Well, there's a reason why you switch from more of a 2-gap run defense to a single gap, and that's where it makes it easier for players to understand their assignments and get there and make the stops. So I think that even with that schematic change, your floor has to improve. They're not going to be as bad as last year, but there's a chance that it's still not great. So 4.7 yards per attempt, I think would still be bad, but be an improvement just that you could point to, that even if the purely schematic change.
No, I like it. I think that's a fair place to place the floor. And yeah, been watching a lot about the schematic changes and what it is allowing for the run fits, and it's pretty exciting stuff. It's kind of like, we were good for many years of stopping the run, and we stopped doing it schematically. It's kind of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. The one thing, guys, I think right away, game 1 versus the Rams, McVay, he's going to run the ball. This is what he knows what to do against the Seahawks. He's going to test us. Got to tell you, game 2 to go to Detroit against that offensive line. People are like, oh, there's a buzz about Detroit, but I think the buzz is misplaced in the sense that you hear them talking about, a lot about the offense and an improved defense, but not too much discussion about just how darn good of an offensive line they have assembled. That is a good run blocking offensive line. It's going to be a huge test week 2 to see, can we stand up against that team? And then they bring in, they got David Montgomery and now Jahmyr Gibbs. That's an interesting backfield right there. So I think we get tested right away, Adam. Maybe to your point, might be a little shaky before it gets a little better.
Yeah. But we can't forget the effect of the dude that is right. Whoop, whoop. This is hard to do backwards. Right there above your shoulder, Clinton. Yeah, that bad man right there. 5'4" and that beautiful uni. Bobby Wagner's going to have a huge impact on the run defense. And I'm not talking just tackling, right? Like him getting everybody in the right spot, communicating, making sure everybody's on the same page. It may help out early and make McVay abandon the run game and go to broken arm Stafford. And then we have Quandre break 8 interceptions in the first game to bust Brandon's ceiling.
I love all that. That's great.
Yeah.
This is fun. We did 3 of these again this year. So go back and check out episode 1 and 2 of the floor versus ceiling debates. It was a lot like this, different topics, of course. So a lot of fun there. Definitely want to give some love to Mint Mobile. The link is in the description. Again, mintmobile.com/Seahawkers to get the deal. That's a good deal. $15 a month. Brandon, if folks are vibing, what do they got to do for us? What do they got to do out there to raise the Hawkra? Oh no. Brandon, for the first time ever.
I think his Hawker is totally broken here. Well, I can tell you what he needs to do. Like apparently Brandon needs to go and subscribe to his own channel, like you guys should all be doing. Raise up your Hawker a little bit, help us out a little bit, helps us with the algorithm. Something we truly appreciate. Be sure to hit like as well. It's easy peasy, takes 2 seconds. Share this with your other 12 friends. What's better than more Seahawks talk in your life? I don't know, cash.
There was that old, I think it was a Pantene commercial. Brandon came back. He's like, why are we talking about shampoo? Because Brandon, it used to be, you tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends. Hey, 12s, you tell 12 12s, they tell 12 12s, and the Hawkra rises. And Brandon, you're back.
I like how Clinton described our growth model here with the sharing, you tell 12, they tell 12 and all that. It sounds very much like a pyramid scheme. What could go wrong? And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.